Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Yeah.
Welcome back to Two Dudes Watch Cartoons. It's the podcast where two dudes, that is us, watch cartoons. My name's Evan.
And my name is Alex, and I totally forgot I was going to learn how to say that in perfect Japanese with no subtitles and just throw it at you. But I did not take the time to do that today. But I'm happy to be here today. We're covering a great one. I might say slept on, maybe just because I literally slept on it. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen it all the way through. But today we're covering Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs.
I just feel like it deserves a round of applause. Directed by Wes Anderson, as you had said, came out 2018.
What was
made
I
on a
doing?
budget of,
I was here in Arizona. I don't have
You know-
as many movie buddies back when I did in Michigan.
Sure. You know what we were doing in 2018? Flipping out over into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we were like
Trying to do the first iteration of this podcast where we did DVD commentary as we watched.
Yeah, it was
through into
it
the
literally was
Spider-Verse.
DVD commentary. It was like, and the worst part about it is it'd be like fucking so long of silence that then one of us would be like, "That was sick." We learned. We got better.
We learned. Yeah, it's all part of the experience. But yeah, came out 2018. Made on a budget of $35 million. Made back $64.2 million. So, and this is maybe part of that is like a little bit slept on, but it was a limited release in the U.S. Profitable, you know.
Yeah, I kind of wish it's so artsy. I almost wish like it didn't make a profit. Not that I ever wish that on a movie, but it is like so good. Like we watch a lot of things here, high grade, low grade. Like this was art. I normally like come in here hooting and hollering. I love this. This was cool. This was sick. This was a beautiful, beautiful work of art from start to finish. I was entranced the whole time.
And you can watch start to finish in a brisk 101 minutes.
That's great. Yeah, it's amazing.
Chef's kiss.
What more could you ask for?
Yeah, it was distributed by Fox Searchlight, so this must have been before the Disney acquisition, which I don't know.
Oh, but this makes sense why it's on Disney Plus now.
But yeah, Wes Anderson, you know, this is his second stop motion.
Let's start with the man,
animated
the myth
feature.
himself, Wes.
The man, the myth.
Anderson.
We're both fans, right?
I feel like the more I watch of his stuff, though, somehow I become more and more of a fan. Where I was watching this movie and I was like, is he the greatest director? Like, have I been sleeping? Like, I've always loved him, but I'm like, he needs to be in talks for one of the greatest. And to me, almost, and it's not just, we're going to get right into it, I guess. It's not even just the directing side. Like, he's got such a specific style.
He's a great writer.
Evan, you just beat me to it. His writing is so crisp, and I haven't fully dissected this. Let's talk this out live here.
Yeah.
The like pacing of dialogue is like very like almost like jazz music, where like it's like forcing you to pay attention. I feel like you have Edward Norton who be like, well, all the dogs on the island do this, and then like Bryan Cranston is like, I bite. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so off pace almost all the time, but it works in such a stunning fashion. And all of his movies have this, but this one I like really noticed it, you know, because they're voice acting.
Yeah, and I think what supports that, especially in this movie, I notice is like the scoring, because there's always those, you know, the taiko drum beat in the back, doom, 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 doom. And then it'll pause right when they deliver the punchline to a joke, but you know, it's always accented by that little bit of music in the background.
This is also part of what made this such a joyful experience, is because of our work here on the podcast, we've really delved into just how hard stop motion really is. And this movie pulled some amazing feats. And stuff that wasn't even really relative. Like the drums, like the guys doing the drum, didn't need this whole scene, but it took so much time. It was beautiful. And the other one that really got me was like the sumo wrestling.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, yeah. What do you got?
I was gonna
Well,
say
which
the sushi.
oh yeah, the
Masterful.
dude. Knowing it's all stop motion and just how hard it is to do that, I'm actually glad I saw this movie after having the appreciation for stop motion that I do now, because I maybe wouldn't have appreciated it as much in 2018.
For sure, for sure. Before we go any further, let me just give a brief synopsis. If you haven't seen this film, definitely go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. It's beautiful. But in the future, an outbreak of canine flu leads the mayor of a Japanese city to banish all dogs to an island used as a garbage dump. The outcasts must soon embark on an epic journey when a 12-year-old boy arrives on the island to find his beloved pet. It's a boy and his best friend classic. Is that a trope? Kind of.
It is
like a lassie.
It is one
like,
of the classic stories of man's best friend.
Yeah,
and the human pet relationship, if you will.
Certainly. But you're talking about the difficulty of stop motion animation. For this movie specifically, about 20,000 faces, and there are a lot of human characters, which is maybe a little bit different than Fantastic Mr. Fox, his previous stop motion film. 20,000 faces, 1,100 animatable puppets, and there are 12 sculptors working 6 days a week, and more than 2,000 more puppets were made for background characters. So just like the sheer volume of like expressions they have to do. I remember Fantastic Mr. Fox, they had to do a lot of like threading of the furs, and I'm sure they had to do
there was a lot of fur
this.
work here too.
Yeah.
But
the detail is incredible.
Let's go. I'm gonna hang up. Go watch it. No, it's just like it was so visually. I don't even want to say pleasing, but like visually stunning at times. And the story, while the story is not like the most complex, like crazy story, but you know what? That's part of Wes Anderson's charm. Is he tells like a simple tale, and it takes like it like convolutes itself, like almost like I'm thinking of Moonrise Kingdom, which is probably my favorite film of his, where it's just like, you know, the kids run off and everyone's trying to find them, but it's like a much more complex tale than that sounds like. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. So we're both Wes Anderson fans. I think it's established on this podcast through our work that we're not like film bros, you know what I mean? Because I feel like there's like a level of people who consume movies. Like we watch mostly what goes through, like mostly mainstream, a couple of offshoots here and there that we try to dabble into, especially when they're animated. But I feel like there is an attitude among the more highbrow film viewer that like maybe Wes Anderson's like a little tacky, or like do you think there's a little bit of that, or have you ever felt that?
You know what, I guess now that you say that, before I really delved into Wes Anderson, I maybe thought that where I know this sound, I'm gonna sound like a film bro
maybe,
here,
perhaps.
Campy, like kitschy, like what I was kitschy, that's the word I'm looking for. I would say like before I dove in, I was probably like, I would take a look at it, and I hate saying this, so this is going to sound like a film bro, where I was like, I just don't get it. Like, but now I like get it, and that's his style, and like how difficult of those frames where everything's like symmetrical and flat like that, how it is like, because it'd be one thing if he was just doing that, but he still manages to work in like so many different like backgrounds and like landscapes, and like it's really impressive what he does. And I think it is truly remarkable how he translates it from these stop motion films to his live action. Like he doesn't take a break because he's quote unquote doing an animated film. This is just another one of his films. What a guy.
Yeah, I think there would be more substance to that argument if his scripts weren't so well paced and funny and like well written.
They're
like
so funny.
If it stopped at the production design and like the stories and the films themselves weren't like that engaging or that moving or that entertaining, like then maybe you have a point. But like these are like universally accessible themes, like wide appeal,
I could see some people not finding it funny, unfortunately, but they're wrong. They're just wrong.
And I feel like this is an odd stance for me, who like usually comes in and tries to come in as a hater of things, but like
it's hard.
I think he's just like so sincere of a, I don't like, there's such a sincerity in all of his work, gimmicky as it may, like as stylized, and I'm air quoting gimmicky because I don't think it's that way.
Gimmicky sounds like it's a bad term, but it's stylized. I think is the best way to put it. He's got a style. Yeah. What's your favorite movie of his?
That's tough. That is really tough.
I think I know my guess for you, though. I'm going to write it down.
Okay, let's go with your guess.
You got to tell yours first.
Well, then how do I know if you guessed?
All right. You have it in your head? Okay, you have it? My guess is... You don't have it.
It's a tough... Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Grand Budapest Hotel.
That was up there.
Okay, what is it?
I think it has to be Moonrise Kingdom. That was like sort of my first entry point into his work, and that one is so much fun.
God, you know what? I hate to be that guy. That might be my first entry point into his work too. And after I saw it, I was like, "What's it? Film, bro?" I was like, "I get it." And I went back and I watched like all his shit, and now I'm seated. And we talked about this on Fantastic Mr. Fox. It was, you know what? That was actually probably my first Wes Anderson film, but I wasn't like. When I first saw The Dark Knight, I wasn't like, Christopher Nolan's a genius. I wasn't really paying attention to directors back then. So like Fantastic Mr. Fox, I was like, what a movie. And so rewatching it, there's a lot of similarities between these movies. Well, in a lot of, I think, like I said, he's taking all these wild and different wacky situations, but he puts the same sort of like dialogue and tone. Like people will be giving like the most gut-wrenching news possible, and they say it in the most monotone, fast-paced possible. And you know what? I saw on one of my favorite, Jason Schwartzman. No, is that it? Yeah. He was writer on this movie, and he was my man of 2023. He was in more movies, I think, than anyone.
He has quite the run.
I think that's. I feel like in the movies of Wes Anderson that he's in, he embodies that really well.
As I've watched more of his work, one, I think it is interesting. Have you watched Bottle Rocket? I think that may have been his first feature film.
No, I haven't seen it.
Stars a young Owen and Luke Wilson. Came out in 1996. But that one's just as entertaining. It has maybe less of the symmetrical he
was finding his footing.
He was finding his footing, but like the voice is still, like the writing style is still there. It's all the beats are.
I don't know how to
so
put
I
the
highly
beats
recommend
of
Bottle
this.
Rocket.
Like, in no way, shape, or form is this how normal conversation goes, but it's so awesome.
It's satisfying.
It's satisfying. That is like when Bryan Cranston and Scarlett Johansson were going back and forth. I like have never been more captivated like in a romance scene and it's two stray dogs on a trash island, and when she goes, "You'd have to pretend that I'm juggling these balls," and then right above his head he goes, "I can picture it clearly," and you see the picture. That sort of shit is like great to me though. Like, you know what? We're watching a movie. Not every movie needs to be 100% based in like reality, because like even his movies that are live action would do a shot just like that, where a character would have a thought bubble and you'd see what they were. So I picture it clearly, and I love that. Like it's artistic. Like this is what we're watching for, is like things like that. I don't know how to describe it. It's I left the movie being like, I wish more directors wouldn't be scared to like do stuff like that. I don't even know what to properly call that. Like breaking reality, like, almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, imaginative in a way that's not like CGI. Like CGI is obviously depicting.
Yeah,
things
I don't want a dream
real,
sequence, but it's
it's
literally like a thought bubble. I don't know. Yeah. It was perfect in my opinion, and just the tone in his voice of like, I could picture it clearly. Like it's so good. Let's talk about the voice cast. You have it up here?
Yeah.
But give me this voice cast. I'm just gonna ooh and ah the whole time.
All right, it's a pretty long one, but I'll hit some highlights. Bryan Cranston is Chief.
Ooh.
Edward Norton.
Oh.
You know what? Let me shout out some of the Japanese voice actors as well. I was going to skip over them, but that's probably like they do wonderful work in this. Well, and it's a like one of the
It's
maybe
so
under it's an interesting
it's
dynamic. to this
confusing
movie.
choice at first. It's confusing
Mhm.
at first when
Sure.
you're like, why are we watching Japanese people without like just give us the subtitles? Like, wouldn't that be fine? But I think it really translates well between the dogs and the little pilot because it's like they can't understand what the little pilot's saying more because he's like a human compared to the
Mhm.
dogs. But I thought that really worked, like how the two were able to communicate without even speaking the same language. And so that was
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, this is why he did it. This is why because it literally in the beginning, it goes, all of the people are speaking Japanese, all of the dogs have translated their barks to English. And I was like, okay, interesting. Here we go. And you'd get translators, like real life translators. And I was like, this is such an interesting, like, it's an animated movie. We don't need this level of realism, but he went for
Mhm.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So Koyu Rankin as Atari Kobayashi. We have Edward Norton, Bob Balaban, Jeff Goldblum, Bill Murray, Kunichi Nomura, Akira Takayama, Greta Gerwig is in there, Frances McDormand's in there, Akira Ito, Scarlett Johansson, Liev Schreiber, Tilda Swinton, Harvey Keitel, Ken Watanabe, Yoko Ono voices a character named Yoko Ono, Roman
What?
Coppola of the Coppola family.
What is
So, yeah.
going on? That's crazy.
An insane voice cast, and they all hit it out of the park.
All of them. Every single one, big or small. This is like the movie in my definition of like, there are no small parts, only small actors.
I was looking it up earlier. I was like, what is these movies don't make a ton of money, you know? They are maybe
Yeah.
profitable. But like what is the appeal to some of these huge names to come back and work with
Good.
Wes
You know what?
Anderson?
Yes, he has like his own MCU, like the Wes Anderson verse.
Yeah. But so like and I did a little bit of Wikipedia and there's not a ton around it, but it's just like essentially so one some of his most frequent collaborators, earliest collaborators are the Wilson brothers, Owen Wilson
Yeah.
and Luke Wilson.
And
Owen
Luke.
Wilson was his roommate in college.
Oh,
So it starts there.
interesting.
And then I found an interview clip from Bryan Cranston. I don't know what movie it was on, but he was talking about like the experience of working on a Wes Anderson movie. Like you don't come for the money. Like everyone essentially makes the same small amount of money. You know, if you're
Yeah,
dividing
they have to.
35 million among all these huge names, like you know,
Robert
it's probably
Downey
not-
Jr. is getting 95 million as a sole actor as the villain of a movie. Let that sink in. And this movie was
Hey.
made on 35 million and look at all the names. So, but like should this not be the lesson for Hollywood that like if you are a bomb director that's going to offer these actors like a real experience, they'll come. They'll do it. If
Yeah,
you build it,
yeah.
they will come.
Yeah. So Bryan Cranston in this interview goes on to say like there are no trailers. Like everyone stays at the same hotel. You eat dinner together every night with Wes Anderson. Like it's like this very communal experience. You might have a small part, and you just come to set for the day and like hang out, and you might be pulled into a scene and whatnot. So like this communal atmosphere, collaborative atmosphere, I think is why you see some of these people coming back time and time again. And I wonder if that like that obviously pays dividends in like as we watch more of these movies, like the chemistry. It's all that like everyone has the beats down, the timing, like because they all know each other.
The five dogs, DAWG, that were the group. It's the four, house dogs and Chief, the one wild dog. Their banter and talking over each other and like it was brilliant. It reminds me of like something I used to like praise Bob's Burgers about. Is I was like the conversations feel very real. Well, I guess not throughout the whole thing. There are definitely times where it is very dramatized and, like I said, picks up the pace, slows down the pace. But like when they're all just shooting the shit and like talking about things, it sounds so much like a real conversation of just friends going back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so drawn to the pacing and the charm. I forget exactly what the amount was, but I remember Edward Norton doing an interview where he's like, okay, this is a tweet that's referencing it. Edward Norton makes $4,200 for every Wes Anderson movie he's in. $4,200.
As an actor,
I mean, that's a lot of money.
They're just coming for fun. They're just coming for I mean, we're not balking at $4,200. That's let's be clear. But for Edward Norton, he played the Hulk at one point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's not a lot of money for him.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to like the magic of this experience, and
it must be because I mean that, like you said, it's not just like they come for one and they're like that was fun. Like one for me, they like find a way to be like, no, I'm gonna keep going back. And I do wonder if these stop motion ones, it's easier to get people in the booth just to record these lines. But I'll be honest, the stop motion is beautiful. The score is beautiful. The script is beautiful. The voice acting is out of the park amazing. Like we said, every single actor that you listed nailed their role. There wasn't a single person where I was like, they don't really fit that dog, or that that person I'm not like, just and like you could feel the emotion in their voice, and that's like what great voice acting is. A lot of times when we get these big movies with a ton of celebrities in them, it's like a Trolls movie, and you know what I mean, or like Ice Age 7 with Nicki Minaj and Drake, and everyone just comes in and records the lines in themselves. But I truly believe like all 5 of those dogs were in the booth at the same time, and it creates different energy.
Yeah, I don't know if this movie, the voice work was recorded the same way, but when we were watching Fantastic Mr. Fox, that was like one of the things is they
were recording
a lot
there,
of their
like as they were going.
In a house together. They wore little microphones on their head, and like George Clooney was really like digging into a sandwich when he was Mr. Fox eating.
Oh my god, like, I want to watch that movie again. That's how good this movie was. Is like I feel like I need to go watch Fantastic Mr. Fox again.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit on the plot. I think one of the first, it immediately draws you in. It sets up this. It's almost like it's not the Star Wars crawler, but like the first couple minutes is like the history of this fictional version of Japan, where there's a dog and cat like war.
Yeah,
in ancient
it's like
Japan.
a Cold War. Yeah,
and I was thinking about it. I was like, why is this immediately so engaging to me? It reminded me of Pillows and Blankets, the Community episode.
Yeah, just the total satire of like a silly event being chronicled, and like
the deep, almost what's the actor's name that narrated those episodes?
Oh yeah. I know.
He was in Community later on. I forget.
He wasn't he? His name's Keith something.
Keith is maybe I don't know. Anyways, and then you jump to present day, where they're implementing the
dog ban.
The dog ban. No more dogs in Japan. They all have to be exiled to
Trash Island. Here's my question for you. How bad IRL would dogs as a whole have to get for a dog ban to go through anywhere? We'll say Japan just for the sake of like realistic. Like what would majority of these dogs have to be doing? Like biting people, you think, before? Well, because like people love their dogs.
Mm-hmm. I think it would need to be some sort of scenario where they're maybe like a zombie scenario where maybe the dogs are the spread of the virus. I did have this creeping thought in the back of my head. I wonder if this would have like hit a different way for a different audience if this came out post-pandemic, you know.
People are like, "Oh yeah, you know what? We can't get sick. Get rid of the dogs."
The government
2018,
like,
they're like, "No."
The government's conspiring to keep all the cure under wraps and all that shit.
I loved the investigative journalist. At one point she goes, "I have to prove my conspiracy theory true." Like there's something about every line in this movie that is like a little not normal, almost. Like I don't know how to brain blast. He's really good at having people explicitly say what they're thinking and feeling, and not having it be weird or like an outburst almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People are very direct in all his movies.
Like, you can you root for the characters, but in the same line of dialogue, he shows their inherent flaws as a character. Like,
He's really
foreign
good.
exchange student Walker, in that, she's like this young
Yeah.
exchange student, and she's like, I have to prove my conspiracy theory true. She's young, she's like fiery, she's ambitious, but like, Wes Anderson inserts that little joke about like youthful optimism or naivete and like little fight the man spirit.
And I think another great one was Bryan Cranston towards the end. He's like, I'm not a violent dog. I don't know why I bite. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just speak their mind so truthfully that, it cuts. You know what? Why this movie's 101 minutes is he is almost like very little subtext. Well, that's hard to say too, because there is a lot of subtext. But like, he's like, this is what this character is thinking and feeling, and he says it in sort of like a direct, clever, funny kind of way. I'm not even properly putting it into words, but it's just so, it's like, we don't have these long drawn out conversations where at the end we're like, oh, she's upset with him. Like, you know what I mean? In the beginning, she goes, I'm really upset with you. And then they talk about it. That's just like how, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It starts the scene that way.
Yeah, it's good. It's refreshing. It's different.
Now, starting with, we need to talk.
Yeah, no, but actually, it comes up and there's silence, and then one of them will be like, I'm upset with you. And the other one will be like, let's talk about it then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's great because like there's a hint of like, oh my God, I love this shit. There's a hint of like, this is how we should communicate with each other, but it's not realistic almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because
they're saying such dramatic things usually and just such deadpan tone voices. Oh, it's so good.
So this is your first time watching this movie in its entirety.
Yeah.
Tell me about the ride, like what stood out to you? What are you left with?
Oh, great question. Yeah. What really stuck with through me throughout the film was this sense of kind of like a Pixar movie where, the dogs represent like humanity, and like the humans were literally throwing out their humanity, like big business like it was very, once again, it's not subtle almost. He's very direct that like people are like, the dog human bond, like that is like the best of humanity. And like all the people were able to just be like, send them to Trash Island, like very on the nose, like we're throwing our dogs away. You know what I'm saying? And so it was a story of essentially refinding your humanity. And I think it was most shown through Bryan Cranston's dog refinding his humanity. Like, it was just so great, the part where he goes, I wasn't always a stray dog. And they're like, what? And he goes, well, yeah, I mean, like, he doesn't want to repeat it. It's so good. He's like, I wasn't always a stray dog. And it's the movie slowly him getting back to accepting that human dog relationship, which, like I said, represents humanity. It was beautiful. Biscuito? Oh, come on. Amazing. He goes, I've never had one before. I don't even know if I'd like it. And then he tries it. And what does he say? This is my new favorite food. Great callback, Wes. Boom. Nailed it.
Literally shedding his tough and dirty crying exterior.
That was such a great twist, was when she washed him and he was a completely white dog. She held the photo up to him. And I was like, plot twist. I did not see this coming. And I just, like I said, I was engaged start to finish. I had to pause in the middle to go do something. And I was like, ooh, do it quick. You know what I'm saying? I was like, run. Like, I was like, I got to get back to the movie. It was great.
Maybe it's a similar, like, one of the things I love about Wes Anderson movies, and is sort of, I think, in doing some more reading up on his body of work, is like, there's always like sort of like a big battle, not quite at the end of the movie, but like somewhere 3/4 of the way through, there's like the big showdown. Fantastic Mr. Fox has one. This movie has one.
There's
Moonrise
the
Kingdom has
campers
one,
all
but
throw down in Moonrise Kingdom.
and there's always people sneaking into like so there's like he often uses like these caper like elements or inspirations, almost like an Ocean's 11 kind of thing, like vibe.
Oh, there's
throughout.
a great one in Fantastic Mr. Fox. I know exactly
Uh-huh.
the end. Yeah, it's very Ocean's 11.
When I read that, I was like, yeah, that does scratch a very specific itch that I love. I don't know
You're like,
why.
you're like, I love that
I
sort of
love
shit.
this shit.
Evan's highest compliment to a movie is like, reminds me of James Bond. Which one? Casino Royale.
Casino Royale.
He's like, it kind of
Movie did I
reminds me
say
of
that about?
Casino Royale. You said it
I was
recently
talking
about something.
One Piece.
You were talking about One Piece, dude, and
They're
that's
at
how I
Water
know. I
7,
go.
baby.
I literally said that is Evan Leon's highest compliment of a movie. You love that
Mhm.
movie. Not a bad thing.
Yeah,
not a bad
it's
thing.
one of my
I just
favorite
love when
movies
you
of all
compare
time.
things to it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Nico Robin literally walks away. They're in, this Venice-like city, and I was like, I was literally like, I wonder when this arc came out. It was probably like around 20.
Who inspired who?
2010,
Yeah.
2011. Yeah.
No, probably not even then.
I think Oda probably definitely watched Casino Royale when he was doing that arc.
I love it.
nice.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
For the listener, I'm at like episode 250 of One Piece right now.
Let's get there.
It's a
baby.
big jump
I'm
for
all
me.
caught up.
I
This
was
is a big
sitting
jump
at
for Evan.
225
Yeah.
for a while, so
He's doing it. He's making
that's
his
the
way
reason
there.
we're recording this or putting this episode out late. I
wasn't gonna.
was trying to
out you.
watch more One Piece.
Then he slipped his mind. He literally texted me before the bye. He's like, I have not watched the movie yet. I was like, shit.
I was picking up so much momentum, and then
It's hard to
I was like,
stop.
I love this arc, and then they do 2 whole episodes of them trying to find Luffy and Zoro, and they're just stuck in a chimney or in between.
They're
I'm
literally
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like, what is going on? That is for every
on.
great episode, you have 3 bad ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a car at the moment, so I'm getting a lot of things delivered to my house. Marty has made it so easy because not only are they fast and efficient, but they're the cheapest option out there by far.
I get these matcha lattes that retail for like $45 for a 12-pack, and I've never bought it full price. I get it on Marty for $15. Marty's women-owned, sustainable, socially conscious, and eco-friendly. What they do is they buy up surplus inventory from the top brands that you love, and they sell it to you at a lower price, so you save food waste and you save money.
That was my first question, was how do they get these things so cheap? But they have a model, and it's passing savings on to you. They got hundreds of items, fast shipping, no subscriptions needed, and you can save on all the great food that you love. We do have a discount code when you go to marty.com/2dudeswatchcartoons, all one word.
TWO, Dudes Watch
TWO, 2 Dudes Watch Cartoons, all one word. You can save $5 off your order.
Go to marty.com/2dudeswatchcartoons at our link in bio, or just plug in the promo code 2dudeswatchcartoons. That's TWO, Dudes Watch Cartoons. Thanks for supporting the pod. Go get yourself some delicious snacks. Alex, go figure out the car situation. I don't know what's going on.
I don't need to with Marty.
Back to the episode.
2 dudes watch cartoons.
Okay. I
film.
think that the narrator that is not Giancarlo Esposito,
Courtney B. Vance. Beautiful
I really
voice.
liked gorgeous voice, beautiful voice. He I liked I have found, I don't know why, I love when a movie has like these arbitrary parts. I'm into it. I want more of it.
Like the
when
narrator?
Zack Snyder's Justice League did it, I was like, ooh, yeah, okay.
Oh, the
chapter,
the
Gods and
chapters?
Monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one had like
Yeah.
4 chapters. I like that.
Mm-hmm. I liked it too. Honestly, without knowing the runtime, I almost felt like this movie was long. Like, and not.
I
as-
am
I'm not saying
questioning
that as a
if it
complaint.
was 101 minutes. I thought it was longer.
We might have to
I took your
submit
word
a
of that. Let's
correction
double
to
check.
Wikipedia. No, I mean, I'm getting that from Wikipedia.
You're
I
looking
could-
at it
I
right
could be
now.
wrong. Yeah, 101 minutes. Isle of Dogs runtime.
So Google says 1 hour 42 minutes. Is that 101
Hmm.
minutes? No.
yeah,
Is it?
60 plus 42 minutes.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
It's under 2 hours.
Tight. Because I know I paused with like 20 minutes left, and so Okay, yeah, my math just sucks today.
we're
Yeah,
bad at
crisp.
math. It's okay. We don't have a math podcast. Get out of here, nerds.
Oh, I think Bill Murray's another great example of just like, what is he doing in this movie? Like, you know, he doesn't do a lot of movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and he's a pretty minor role. He's one of like the 5 ensemble cast that's in the movie.
I thought those guys were the main characters, so when they like shuttled off in the thing, I was gagged. I was like, oh, we're following Bryan Cranston and the one that didn't want to hang out with the human. And that was where it really clicked. I was like, oh, I see where we're going with this.
Boy and his dog, man.
A good boy. His name was what was Atari?
Atari, yeah.
Like the gaming system?
Like the gaming system. So, and maybe this is a good point to address this. According to Wikipedia, there was some controversy, criticism for Wes Anderson's portrayal of Japanese culture in this film.
I
And I think it's worth discussing.
it. Yeah, I think it's probably worth discussing. I had not thought about it, but you know, there's probably some people out there that wouldn't be crazy about a non-Japanese director making a movie so about Japan.
Yeah, and I don't know. It is about Japan. It's set in Japan, but I don't see it as being about Japan. And maybe that's some of the issue.
I think that's a good.
Let me
that's a good
disclaimer
point, though.
here. I'm not Japanese. Alex is not Japanese as far as we know. So like,
You need to make that clarification, though. Unfortunately,
yeah.
for the racists out
But,
there.
Like I can see that, but I don't know.
You didn't feel it. It's one of those
I
things
don't-
where
yeah.
you understand if someone were to bring that argument up to you, but you yourself weren't like, this is a wild appropriation of Japanese culture.
Yeah, I mean it's appropriation or just like reducing Japan or the setting to like these certain cultural markers that
Yeah.
the West recognizes. So like I understand that angle. But I do think it's done with like some reverence. Like he very
That's
clearly,
how I felt. Yeah.
you know, is not doing anything to be
Malice.
disrespectful. Yeah. And
But
I
there was-
almost and
Godzilla didn't destroy the city or nothing.
I'm trying to think of a good way to put this, but like I almost consider, and maybe this is, I might get flack for this from our handful of
Let's hear
listeners,
it.
but I almost compare it to like Akira in that it is like a fictionalized version of Japan. Obviously, Akira has much more
Sure.
relevant political commentary, but it's
But
like
this wasn't
a stylized
about
version
necessarily
of
a
it.
political commentary. I didn't,
Yeah,
unless there was some hardcore Japanese political commentary that went over my head. I didn't.
sure.
I
And
don't
there's
think
a lot
that's
of
what
the
it was
dialogue
about.
that's not. Yeah, a lot of the dialogue's not translated. So yeah, in that way, I don't think it's about Japanese culture.
It's not
you
about
know.
Japan, like you said. Japan was just the setting.
Yeah.
And I'm with you that I don't think only people from Japan should make a movie or TV show like in
Mhm.
Japan's setting. So yeah, I mean, no red flags popped up when I went through it. I mean, I liked all the little bits of like Japanese culture. You know what I mean? And that was actually some of the more enjoyable scenes because it was just like the stop motion of it. Like he didn't need to put that in there, but he did anyways. I don't know. I like that.
Yeah. Maybe a more apropos comparison would be like the movie The Wolverine, where Hugh Jackman's trouncing around Japan. Like that's also set in Japan. American,
And yeah, is
I
that?
think.
Yeah,
James
I don't know.
Mangold directed.
Yeah,
So,
that's good.
yeah.
No, that's a good point.
I think there's
The Last
some
Samurai is a
merit
white
to it.
guy.
It's not a white savior story.
It's
Let's make
not.
that clear. And some people try to lot
Oh,
that
there was a
criticism,
white.
you know,
Oh, there was a white person
An
trying
American
to
student.
save them all. Actually,
yeah.
I
don't
love
think
the
she's
scene.
the protagonist.
Getting back to bits I loved, where she handed over all of her school things, like her passport, and they gave her like a ticket. That scene just is so beautiful. He's really good at like telling a lot of story in like 30 seconds.
And it's all done. It's all supported by his very overt, stylized production design. Like all those details are there for a purpose, or they're there to set up a joke. I think perhaps my favorite joke.
Yeah.
There's a scene where we see the dog serum, the vaccine, the cure being made in the lab, and they look at the virus under a microscope. They drop, the serum in, and you see the cell die, and then it comes out in a little beaker. And the backdrop is like a big wall of different beakers, and they're all celebrating the success. One scientist pours a bunch of beakers together. You think he's like making another serum or concoction, and then they just say "kanpai," which is like cheers in Japanese, and then they drink it like he's making a cocktail. The whole like, it was such a perfect moment.
It's a small visual gag that you're just like, oh, that's funny as hell. I thought those were other concoctions. I think maybe the funniest part for me was when he was like, you guys need to jump. He goes, where? Down here. When? Now. Like, those are such funny moments, like Edward Norton just going, when? Where? He goes, why? Like, he's following up, and then literally he goes, well, let's put it to a vote. You're not the leader here. And he always gets outvoted, and so they do the nay and the yay, and then it's like too late. Like, they get dropped. And I was like, that's more political commentary. No, I'm kidding. But I just, like, it's like the beats of the movie are what make it funny. Like, there wasn't any like, oh, that's observational comedy gold. Like, it's just like how people say things, and like I said, they say things a little offbeat or things you wouldn't normally say to each other. It's just brilliant, quite brilliant, honestly.
Was that exchange your favorite joke or line?
It's probably that or anything with Bryan Cranston and Scarlett Johansson. That was really doing it for me. When
I like that they call back to, like, in their first conversation, he's like, can I see you do a trick? And she's like, I only do that once I get to know you. Yeah. And then at the end, she shows him a trick.
And
then he's like,
she shows him a trick.
Have you changed your mind about having puppies? And she's like, I'll let you know when I get to know you better.
And I thought it was really cute at the end. The original dog Spot was alive. Liev Schreiber. The whole scene where he like transfers guardianship. Like, I also love the dogs being like, I'm in charge of this human. Like, he goes, I wasn't even looking for a friend, but I do happen to be very fond of. Like, there's always something that's so funny to me when people like verbalize like pet thoughts and actions. And so, like, I just thought that was really funny where the dog was like, it was a mission given to me. I wasn't even looking for a best friend. Like, it's so funny.
That's a pretty powerful moment.
Oh yeah, when they're all tearing up, they're all crying, and
it was like little wedding vow exchange.
This
between
was
the dog and his master.
Part of the whole theme of the thing is most of the time the dogs and the humans could not really communicate. This whole scene, the dogs give the speech, and at the end, the human transfers the earpiece. Just knew what they were talking. They can't understand it. Great, masterpiece. Beautiful. I don't need to know how they knew. They're bonded.
And we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but like that essence of translation, or like things getting lost in translation, that's like sort of what this movie is about. Like how do you communicate love, your humanity, to someone you can't really understand? And that's the whole relationship. And it puts, I like you said, I like that we as a viewer don't have the luxury of understanding all sides of the conversation.
Well, like the dogs, we don't understand everything, and it shows that the dog's finding the love for the human, and the human doing acts of kindness for the dog, even though the human doesn't need to. And they've all just been scorned by this. Oh, also wait, did Atari just have a fucking like rod shoved in their head the whole movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't stoned or something. I was like, what's going on? I remember, I was like, didn't Atari die in the beginning? And then I was
basically,
like, I was like, it's still there, I think. And then there was a second one. So I was like, okay, I hope Atari lives. And
then he gets elected mayor.
He's the mayor. It's like, he's got two metal poles sticking out of his head.
Yeah.
Elected mayor.
I have a couple of favorite lines that I jotted down, but one is at the end. I think it's translated, but he gets elected mayor. He like undoes all the public policy against dogs, and then like his new council is all his like middle school friends, and they're like, we have to decide on what the punishment is for abusing dogs, and someone's like, death penalty.
Death penalty.
And he goes, that seems excessive, possibly.
Possibly. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
And then there's another when we first meet Spots, or we catch back up with Spots. He's in a cage. He's meeting some dogs, and they're like, "Oh, you must have like." The dog's like, "You must have lived a lavish lifestyle or whatever. Like, how much does the mayor make?"
Oh yeah,
And he goes, "I'm not the mayor's accountant's dog. That's Butterscotch."
that's butterscotch. That is that. So I was lying. How he doesn't have like classic humor in there. That's top notch classic humor. He goes, "I'm not the mayor's." He goes, I think what he actually says is like, first off, that's private information. I would never tell you.
Yeah.
He goes, second off, I'm not the mayor's accounting dog. That's Butterscotch. So it's so good. Every line is delivered with such sincerity, and even in such a goofy line as that, Liev Schreiber is like
Liev Schreiber
is giving his all in that line. It's
Sabretooth.
beautiful.
in the Wolverine, or Wolverine, maybe just Wolverine.
Is he Bird Notice? Is that him? I don't think so. What I think we've touched on a lot of this movie. Do you want to maybe let's do our closing thoughts on it, because those could get long, and then we'll read some letterbox reviews.
Yeah.
You want to start us off, or you want me to ramble for 5 to 10 minutes?
Go ahead, ramble.
All right.
I need to collect my thoughts.
No, I'm kidding. All right.
Biscuito.
Biscuito. It's so good. That's my closing thoughts. No, I'm kidding.
I have one more.
Yeah.
The way he approaches the outcast, the savage dogs at the end, voiced by Harvey Keitel, the leader.
Harvey Keitel.
And Spots gets captured by them, abducted, and he goes, "I heard you guys were cannibals." And he goes, "That was one dog, and he was comatose for however many weeks, and we would not have lasted a week without that nourishment." And they all like mourn. They go, "Oh." Like such gravitas.
Such gravitas. He's delivering the line of his. It's
the Donner Party of Trash Island.
Like everyone should have gotten an Oscar for this movie. You know what I mean? That's crazy.
And it was nominated for Best Animated Feature.
Didn't win.
In
Who
the year
did it lose
2019.
To? Oh,
I believe it lost to
Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's a tough one. I'm gonna be honest.
That's tough.
I get why Spider-Verse won. I'm not gonna argue it.
Sure.
I think if I was actually picking, I would pick this. But I'm gonna be honest. 2018, I didn't appreciate stop motion like I do now. I'm hoping maybe I'm not alone. Like maybe there's more people out there that see. Like just go YouTube, Pinocchio, behind the scenes, Netflix, Guillermo del Toro. It is insane the things they do just to make a 5-second scene. You know what I mean? It's remarkable, and it's just such a talent to the craft and directing as a whole. You know what? These are my closing thoughts, by the way. Wes Anderson is a genius. It's like been such a slow build for me. Every movie I've seen of his, I'm like, oh yeah, that was awesome. The next one, I'm like, oh man, that was awesome too. I would say like even Asteroid City, which was not like one of his strongest contenders, awesome movie because you can. What
was that an Oscar flub? I don't think it got nominated for.
I think that's a flub. It's tough because actually there are a lot of like prestigious
Very good
movies
films
floating around at the moment, and I think maybe he's not getting the respect he deserves, and maybe we need to be out here praising the word of Wes Anderson, because like I think like love or hate the kitschy, the campy, the what have you of it, his stylization, we should be applauding that act as a whole, though. Like that's what directors should not. It doesn't need to be as adhered to as Wes Anderson does, but it would do a lot of directors a favor if someone watched one movie and then the next, and they were like, "Wait, is this the same?" Like, you know what I'm saying? That is how you make a name for yourself. Like, love him or hate him, his movies are weird, they're funny, they're quirky. They're quirky. He really embraces this quirkiness that maybe only the millennial age demographic fully embraces.
Whimsical is
whimsical. What a wonderful term. But so I just think that this is, to me, like when you look at Wes Anderson's discography and you look at like these 2 entries of stop motion, this is a man who just like takes real pride in what he's putting out there. And I just think that deserves like a base level of respect, even if you don't like his movies. Like, it is a real testament in a day and age where movies are looking more and more similar that he's able to stand out so much.
Yeah.
5 out of 5 stars. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Just amazing.
You know, you might not have won the Oscar, but you got 5 stars from Alex.
You
And
did.
we'll see where you land with me. No, I echo a lot of the sentiments. Like, Moonrise Kingdom was the first Wes Anderson film I watched. Have fallen in love with his work, and it feels foreign to me as like someone who often comes in as a hater, as a critic, as a cynic.
He's looking for
just
something to nitpick.
Yeah, and I'm at a loss for stuff to nitpick. Like, they're so well crafted, and like you were saying, Wes Anderson is a director who knows who he is as an artist and is so dedicated to that craft that he will pursue whatever interests him and whatever he wants to make. And there aren't that many people making movies that have that sort of clarity of purpose and intent.
And you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt, but that sort of dedication to the craft is this magnetism that draw these huge stars to him. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Like, that's to me is all you need. Like, if these actors are coming to you, you know what? It's a little bit of a different in the sense, but it reminds me of how like real lovers of comedy acting love to go on Curb Your Enthusiasm because it's all improv. It's like a real test of like your improv skills and just like riffing and changing and like adapting and like having a real conversation. And so these people are like, I may only have 10 lines, but they're going to be the most dramatic and well-crafted lines that I deliver in the next 5 years or whatever.
I think it was a small thing I saw on the Wikipedia, but this made a certain amount in its first weekend. I think it doubled it in the second weekend. And then it slowly trickled off. And one of the movies that sort of pushed it out was 8th Grade, directed by Bo Burnham. Nothing against that movie. No. But I'm like this fun sort of full circle moment happens where in eighth grade there's a young boy actor who's like the other weird kid that she befriends.
Yeah,
and I think he's in Asteroid City. I think he's one of Jason Schwartzman's kids in Asteroid City.
That's fun. A fun little circular moment.
It's not just like this. It's not just Bill Murray and Edward Norton and Adrian Brody and Owen Wilson. Like, more people get brought into the fold. Rupert Friend from the Obi-Wan series is in Asteroid City. I'm sure he's done other great stuff. Maya Hawke, your girl Maya Hawke's in Asteroid City.
Yeah,
like,
he's bringing in new people.
Yeah.
So I even think Bryan Cranston is like, I want to say relatively more new.
But yeah, like, such dedication to the craft. There are not a lot of directors. I think he's definitely one of our best contemporary directors. Like, there's like the Martin Scorsese's and like.
I mean, I don't want to get too exaggeratory here because it is different, but it feels like Miyazaki to me, where you watch his film and you're like, this has got to be a Studio Ghibli. Like, if no one tells you, like, you could do the same with a Wes Anderson film.
Oh yeah.
And so like all the things we praise Miyazaki about, I feel like I could copy and paste a ton of them to Wes Anderson.
Yeah. And
whimsical, the dialogue, the metaphors, they're all there.
It's about life. Yeah.
It's about life.
Reflections on boyhood and loss and all that stuff.
Humanity
I think for this movie, he does mention that Miyazaki's work is a huge influence.
I love
the films of Akira Kurosawa. I'm trying to think of other directors like that I think are like at a similar point.
It's hard to think of
like
ones off the top of my
Christopher Nolan is
he's
maybe
close,
one.
but I almost, this is not his fault. I almost think like the movie industry has started to Christopher Nolanize a lot of their films. Does that make sense? Like things that would maybe.
I think people took the wrong notes from the Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh,
and then luckily he's been able to jump
Yeah.
off from that point and like clarify his
I think that's
voice.
good. I think a lot of movies nowadays try to be this big mind-bending thriller after like Inception and then Shutter
Sure.
Island. Like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I don't even think Shutter Island's him, but like, I'm just thinking of Leonardo DiCaprio now. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
I almost think like while he feels like more mainstream movie wise, I agree he has a very style to like how do I
Yeah, to
put
go
it?
from like Inception to like Dunkirk and then
Uh,
Oppenheimer, like there's
yeah.
like you sort of see the growth and like and the other one example I come back to is Denis Villeneuve. I think Arrival was his first film,
Not
and
his
then Blade Runner.
first film, but yeah,
No,
he's yeah.
first
That like put
major.
him on the map, and he's done
And then-
Prisoners.
Oh, did he do Prisoners?
Yeah,
I loved Prisoners, and
Dude,
I don't like
he's-
creepy.
dude. Neither do
thriller
I,
stuff.
but that movie's great. I'm gonna cut this out. I'm gonna double check that before I'm just like talking.
I think he does.
I'm
I
90%
think
sure,
he did.
though.
Yeah,
he's really good, and he obviously does Dune now.
yeah. But I mean, even Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, it's him.
was
It's him.
a
And
box
Blade
office
Runner.
flop.
No, that was I don't know. I'm not even like a huge just Blade Runner fan in general, but that
Yeah.
movie is just sick as fuck.
It's one of my. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah. No, that
Oh.
movie is just like top notch. He's another one, but he's up and coming in my.
He's at the
opinion.
top. Yeah, he's at the. But I think
Brendan,
Dune
my
2
brother, says
is-
he has not made a bad movie. If you look at it here, you know what? Let's just. I could run through them. I got it right here. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm not as quick on the computer as you. You always got them up.
Speaking of computer stuff, the hacker kid in Isle of Dogs, only has 2 moments, but they're like quick callbacks to each other. One is when we first meet him in the class, in the journalism class or whatever. He just turns around from the computer corner where he's doing generic hacking,
yeah.
and then it comes back full circle at the end.
That
where he's
was-
in the full disguise, and he just turns around in his little hacker chair.
That
in
was
disguise.
beautiful, and that was his 2 moments. But like
No dialogue.
that is part of the charm of Wes Anderson. Is that guy was like super important. We all knew exactly who it was. No dialogue. Like
Yeah,
that is
he's
such
like,
a
the caper
great.
movie has to have a guy in the chair.
Has
and
to
he
have a
does.
guy, and here he is. Turn around. That's great. That's great. Okay. I'm about good here. You want to read some letterbox reviews?
Yes. Let me 5 stars. Who am I kidding? I can't try and
Can't even.
You know,
Don't even.
gatekeep
front
that.
on
5 stars. This not that Wes Anderson can do no wrong, but like I just cannot fault his sincerity. It's
I don't. What would I pick apart in this movie? What would take away a star?
also it's super well executed. Like there's
she's
nothing-
amazingly executed.
So yeah, 5-star film. I absolutely adore his work. Sorry, film bros, if that's like a basic take, but that's where I'm at. I just love the sincerity. It makes me feel better about the future of art in general.
Oh no, yeah. Like as long as people are still out here making movies like this, we
We'll be
will make
okay.
it. We will be
We'll be
okay.
okay.
He will
yeah.
inspire the next. You know what I mean? We will be okay. Let's read a couple of these reviews. I think there's some funny ones. You want to read your first one?
Yeah. Top review on Letterboxd. 3.5 stars. Interesting. Say Isle of Dogs slowly. Now say Isle of Dogs slowly. I just blew your mind. That's fascinating. Thank
wildly
you,
3
Brian
stars.
Tallarico.
What the hell?
A great pun, apparently.
Yeah. There's a lot of 4 stars XOXO gossip dogs. That was so funny. I just like to gossip. And then you heard the rumor, right? And then Jeff Goldblum as a gossipy dog is everything I could have ever wanted from a Wes Anderson film. You know who Jeff Goldblum was in Asteroid City?
Who
He was the alien that popped up, and he was in.
God.
And then
was
there's
he
like
in a suit?
he's
Or did
in
he,
the
like,
suit,
do
but then
voice work?
later there's like the play or whatever, and he's
yeah.
like he's like got the head off, and he's like, yeah, and so I do let it, and it's literally just like a shot of him, and it's like half a line, if that.
Yeah. That's one I need to go back and watch. I that may be the last movie I watched in theaters with
Ooh,
Haley, and it was a great one.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good ones here.
Wes Anderson definitely has his Twitter bio set to Japanese for the aesthetic. Yeah, okay, that maybe is poking fun at some of the criticisms. 3 stars. The only time in recorded history when Greta Gerwig made a movie worse.
Oh,
I don't.
who did she
I don't know if
play?
she played the foreign exchange student Walker.
That's who I was thinking. I could see people not being into that storyline because she's very like it's one of those people that you're like, you're doing the right thing, but you're kind of doing it for yourself right now.
Yeah.
Very good doggos. Biscuito.
Greta Gerwig, I don't know if she still is, but
So these reviews are kind of mixed. I'm not gonna lie. There's some bad ones in here,
and I think that's how his films are oftentimes received. You know what I mean?
I'm a little surprised by this. There's a lot of 3 stars, which 3's not bad. It's more than half, but like feels insulting. You know what I'm saying?
That's what he occupies this space, I think.
2.5 stars.
We're day-to-day movie consumers and viewers, where I would say we sort of maybe are in the...
We watch more than the average.
20, top 25 percentile or whatever. But then, like, there's, like, the upper echelon of, like, film viewers, film-educated people that...
And they might be out on it. And then there's, like, the casual film viewers who are maybe out on it. He could be losing people at both ends, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he's getting only the smart ones like us.
We're the right amount of cynical and optimistic about the world. We're his target demo.
We're the perfect audience.
We're also dudes who were roommates in college that love to postulate about life and love.
Yeah, and his films make you do that a little. He goes, I can't get over the line. He goes, I'm not an angry dog. I don't know why I bite. That, I'm like shocked, like more, that hasn't ended like all of toxic masculinity right there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do some news. This has been fun. I'm like out of breath. I feel like I'm screaming. I came in here being like, I'm not going to scream about this movie, and I literally just spent the last hour screaming how awesome it is.
Well, I mean, let's sum it up with overall on Letterboxd. It has a 4.0, not bad.
Okay.
11,000 ratings. A lot.
Yeah.
And then I think Rotten Tomatoes is at a 90%, so pretty well received. It made its money back, so
yeah.
Not that that's what this is about, but
no, but it's an indicator. We got to look at it, but it's not what it's about. Like I said, I almost wish it didn't make its money, but I would never wish that upon like a movie director or anything. But just so I could be like, most underrated movie of all time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got some. I want to go first on news. I feel like I always let you go first. I got some news.
No, let's do it.
Quentin Tarantino says that the Toy Story trilogy is so perfect that he will never watch Toy Story 4. I'm assuming this means he won't watch 5 either when it comes out. He says the third one is of the best movies I've ever seen. I have no desire to see the fourth one. You ended the story as perfect as you could, so I don't care if it's good. I'm done. We're talking about these directors who have styles. My man,
Quentin Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino over here. He's got one. What a strange dude. Who do you think would be more enjoyable to hang out with? Him? He's real into feet. We've just ruled him out. I don't want to hang out with him.
Unless Toy Story 5 has Andy's feet.
He's like, can you remove all the boots from the cowboys and cowgirls?
There's a snake in my boot, so I'm going to take it off.
What if, hear me out.
That'll get Quentin Tarantino.
Hear me out. What if they let him direct Toy Story 5?
He's bringing Bo Peep's feet in for sure. I would love to see Quentin Tarantino do animation.
I would too. That'd be interesting. I'd be very into it.
He's doing
his last film, which we'll see if
movie
it's his
critic
last film. Yeah,
or something.
I think it's going to be uber meta.
I'm sorry. What was the comparison you wanted? Him
that
or
was just the
Wes
news.
Anderson?
Yeah, who would you rather hang out? Who would you rather hang out with? I ruled him out instantly
tough.
though.
I I feel like Quentin Tarantino would be more grating. I feel like
Yeah, I
might
agree.
feel more self-conscious around Wes Anderson, if that makes sense.
Oh, you know what? I think you. Yeah, that's a good way
Like,
to
does
compare.
he like me? Like,
I can't tell. Does
is he just
like
being nice?
Is he this nice to everyone? I can't tell what's going
I
on.
promise I don't just watch Marvel movies.
Yeah, I've seen them all, but I promise it's not all I watch. I didn't watch Secret Invasion. I didn't. I promise, Wes. I didn't watch it. I had enough.
I just wanted to support Jeffrey Wright, who's one of your frequent collaborators. He's the Watcher.
I love Emilia Clarke. I watched one episode. I'm sorry. He's the Watcher.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
my assessment.
That's no, that's good. Okay, you have any news?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So one, this is a story. The other shoe
Oh,
has dropped.
oh,
Sources tell at THR that the reason Bo DeMaio was fired by Marvel
Oh.
Studios
Oh.
involved sexual conduct, and this is what's the saying? Never meet your heroes, or
Yeah.
just like don't
No,
get
that-
attached to these
yeah.
big personalities.
Um,
And again, these are allegations. We don't know the full details. In no way
These-
standing up for him.
these are allegations, and sexual misconduct in the workplace is never funny.
yeah.
But I am going to make a slight joke here. I'm sorry, I have to.
Okay.
Part of the allegations was him sending superhero poses with less than desirable amount of clothes on and
Mhm.
saying, this is how you should animate Cyclops. This is how you should animate Gambit. And I just, like, I'm sorry. Could you imagine getting that text? That's insane.
It's insane.
It's never funny. It is
Not
not
funny.
funny that it happened, but it is a funny situation. I'm sorry. I can't
and the
believe
way-
that. That's
Also,
insane.
I think
This is how Storm should look.
the huge. He's wearing
I
Look at
can't
me. The
believe
second outfit.
that. Like, okay, this would be funny even if it wasn't like his boss. Like, I can't believe that. That's wild. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're laughing at the absurdity of the
The
situation.
absurdity of the situation.
Which is he was fired from the show, and Disney was more than happy to leave it at that.
They were gonna keep it under wraps.
And he was a vocal advocate of the show, yada yada. Recently posted a picture of an illustration, like maybe it was fan art. I don't know who drew it, but fan art of him posing in the Cyclops outfit, but without the blue part. So it's just like the
I
the
didn't see
utility
this.
belt
I didn't even
around-
see this.
He
Oh
posted
my
this
God.
on Instagram, and the caption was along the lines of, "This is the reason I was fired, because they didn't want this out loud, proud representation of a queer person out there," which I am sympathetic to that.
But as a boss in a workplace,
As it turns out,
yeah,
that was not at all sort of
That
the
was, like,
story.
not the full
And
story.
he was like poking the bear of Disney's legal team.
We found
and
out through the Disney Plus scandal. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, and so it has since come out after he posted that, Disney, through their sources, their fucking Littlefinger in Game of Thrones
Oh my
stuff comes out about what the actual allegations are, which is that he was texting indecent photos of himself to staff. But yeah, people had hit us up and were interested to hear what our take is. Not that our take matters, but what he was doing in the workplace is not okay.
No.
That he thought he could take on Disney's legal department and would even think to poke the bear when
outrageous.
Yeah, when the alleged charges are so egregious.
This is where the conspiracy theorists people pop up.
Flew.
They're like, he would never poke Disney if he actually did that.
Yeah, so
Because it's so out there of a thing to do. It's just an outrageous situation to be like, this is how we should draw so-and-so. This is Wolverine. I'm not as jacked as him, though. Use your imagination. Like, what? I'm sorry. Imagine
Yeah.
getting that on Slack. You're like, what is this? Oh, okay. That's, I guess, how we're drawing Cyclops from this angle. All right. It's absurd. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I can't believe
It's
it.
very absurd. Yeah. So just another reminder: don't get attached to these. You don't know these people. We don't know these
You
people.
don't know
so,
these people. Okay. You have any more news?
Yeah.
That was sad news. I'm sorry I laughed. Oh, go ahead.
And all that zazz. A federal judge has blocked plans for a joint sports streaming service between Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers. So, I know you
I
take
was
issue
pro.
with the. You were pro.
I wanted them to combine. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I know you take issue with the. We're just doing cable again, but
I
we're kind of just bundling everything.
Just bundling it all. Yeah, I get it. Okay, I have my last bit of news. I knew I was forgetting something big. Breaking news from a couple weeks ago. Chick-fil-A starting its own. It's entering the streaming wars at the perfect time where there's just,
Yeah,
clearly
clearly there's no
a
bundled
real
Disney
hole.
Fox package coming.
There's a real hole in the streaming market. Chick-fil-A is going to be producing its own content as well as animated content.
What's that gonna look like? Veiled Christian content, like
Veggie Tales. Yeah.
like,
It's going to be a Chick-fil-A Tales.
or what's the channel? Lifetime that does all the holiday.
Yeah, it's gonna be
movies
like
that have
Lifetime
a slight
movies.
Christian undertone to it.
It's so like
You just
You're
know.
like,
You
I
just
didn't
know.
notice, but everyone in the last 3 movies was pretty Christian. You're like, it didn't have anything to do with the plot.
Marriage is the most sacred institution in the whole world, and it should only be between a man and a woman.
You're like, whoa, I didn't know her father felt that way. It's like slipped into the movie a couple times.
Damn, I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a long, probably 10 years.
I
No,
am so bad about it. Yeah, I took a nice, long, healthy boycott. Just a personal one. Don't like what they stand for, but shit, when you try it again, it's hard to.
Hey, sometimes it's tough. We live in a society. All our phones are
it's-
made with child
It is-
labor. It's
it's
tough,
not
man.
my fault. Yeah, you've seen The Good Place in capitalism. It literally cannot be a good person.
Mhm.
Hot damn, those
Oh.
sandwiches are amazing though.
This
Probably will not check out their content.
is just JD Vance on there talking about like the importance of post-menopausal women taking care
Breeding.
of their grandchildren. Or
Stop.
it's so
I can't.
a woman's only
can't.
purpose in life is to make chicken sandwiches, or if they
He's
don't.
gonna
have
be
children.
like, so you know how Chick-fil-A has the play center for the kids, and then just like stare directly into the camera
I need it
for the kids.
for the kids. I need a clip of him in a Chick-fil-A. So, what do you
I'll
want?
just have whatever.
Or how
makes
long you been working
sense.
here? Okay, good.
What he says in the donut shop. This is the line that really gets me. He literally goes, "I'll have whatever makes sense."
Whatever makes sense. Son, shut the hell up about all that Pikachu shit.
Oh my god! Yeah, this dude's a quote machine. And like, what's crazy is like that used to be Donald Trump's role. He used to be the
Yeah.
one busting out the quotes left and right. JD Vance is upstaging him, and that.
Is it secretly a very good political move by Donald Trump to like
No,
bring on another punching bag so he takes less flack?
maybe that's the new
Well,
theory.
alright.
Oh
This
my
is another
god!
one we got to talk about real quick. Disney has decided to waive its right to arbitration and allow the matter to proceed
Oh,
in court.
They
for
finally
a
did the right
wrongful
thing.
death lawsuit. So, if you don't know the background of the story, someone was filing a wrongful death lawsuit at one of their parks. Someone was served food with an allergen when they were assured it didn't have the allergen, and the person died. So their spouse is trying to sue, and the legal team
For
came up-
$50,000. Also, they're not trying to sue for millions. Like
Yeah.
$50,000.
and they were trying to
Chump
squirm their way
change.
out of it because this person at one point had a Disney Plus subscription, and they, I guess, in the terms of service, you agree to waive your right to
Arbitration against Disney.
Yeah. So
A real terms and service
is-
nightmare. Like this is like
this
high-
is Succession.
this
shit.
is-
This was the season 2. They're trying to avoid bury the death.
I feel like this is like a South Park skit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Where they're like, no, this is literally in the terms and service. Yeah, but so they finally decided to do the right thing after a PR nightmare shitstorm.
Mhm.
I bet you they had so many cancellations when that news came out. And you know what? This is like weird news. So the Deadpool now at Disney parks
Made a joke about it.
He made a joke about it. And you know what? That doesn't sit well
That's
with
a
me.
little dystopian.
It doesn't sit well with me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I get he's supposed to be meta and edgy.
I bet that cast member is getting fired.
It's either that or it like went through levels of clearance. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Either way, it's awful. I don't know. I'm not into it.
One quick one for you. It was officially announced that One Piece chapters 1 through 1110 will be displayed on a 140-meter long wall in Tokyo.
That's a big win.
Gotta go.
That's a big win.
How long do you think that would take to read?
I don't know. You want to go try?
Yeah.
Spend our whole vacation seeing how long we could do it?
140 meters. That's like one side of a track, like an Olympic
I don't know.
track.
Let's look. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think you have that right.
Plus some 1.5. So I could run it pretty quick. I can't read that fast, but that's going to back up traffic for so long because people are just going to be standing there reading the whole thing.
I didn't even think about that. You think people are actually going to stand there and read it?
Someone, if for nothing else, then
so
just
it's
for the content.
A football field is 91 meters. So actually, if you take even like the end zones, it's 109 meters. So it's longer than a football field.
Okay.
By like a decent amount.
Yeah.
I think that's a good frame of reference, for our real sporty audience that we have.
For sure. We've started to get season 2 One Piece live action casting announcements.
Yeah.
Go look
cover it. Yeah,
yeah.
We don't need to.
Mohinder from Heroes is I forget who he's playing, but we got
Mr. Three's a fun casting. Yeah, it'll be good. It's gonna be great.
Well, yeah. You got anything?
I got nothing else. You good?
Yeah.
This was fun. I love this movie. We need to find more movies like this. If you have a suggestion, send it our way. You've made it all the way through this podcast because you're a real one. Send us a suggestion. We'll know. You gotta mention Evan's tomato hat, though. That's the key. That's the secret phrase. That's our shout out to go watch our YouTube. But I'm going to wrap us up here. Thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. If you liked this episode, we have plenty more to go check out in our backlog on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube, as I just mentioned. Follow us at Two Dudes Watch Cartoons on Instagram and on TikTok. And make sure you leave a rate and review, share it with a friend. And once again, just thanks for stopping by and making it this far.
That's it. That'll do it.
That's it. That's how Wes Anderson ends it. That's it.
That's it. That'll do it for this episode of Two Dudes Watch Cartoons. We will catch you next time.
Two dudes watch cartoons.
Scene. Finn. Yeah.